This is a special edition of the Catholic News Roundup and Vortex, the clerical abuse scandal.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. Let me ask you a question. Is a child safer in the company of a Catholic priest or a public school teacher? If you ask the man on the street, he will undoubtedly answer, well, the public school teacher, of course. We all know about those priests. Well, he would be dead wrong. But who could blame him, our man on the street, that is? After wall-to-wall, non-stop stories and newscasts and reports and ticker tapes on the issue of clerical sex abuse among Catholic priests, it's a wonder authorities haven't outlawed the priesthood itself altogether. But the truth is something far different than what it is typically reported when it comes to the Catholic faith. In 2004, a detailed study concluded that abuse on the part of public school teachers was, get this now, more than 100 times as great as that among Catholic priests. 100 times more prevalent. The study was conducted by a woman named Carol Shakeshaft, and she's the Hofstra University scholar who prepared the report. She said the number of abuse cases, which range from unwanted sexual comments to rape, could actually be much higher. To support her contention, Shakeshaft compared the priest abuse data with data collected in a national survey for the American Association of University Women Educational Foundation that was conducted in 2000. Now, she took data from the latter one, and she estimated that roughly 290,000 students experienced some sort of physical sexual abuse by a school employee in a single decade in the 1990s. 290,000 in the 1990s. The total number of abuse cases by Catholic priests from 1950 to 2000, a 50-year period compared to the 10-year period, was 11,000, or on average about 220 a year. That is a travesty, and it is a failure of leadership in the church on a grand scale. But we've talked about that issue a number of times before, and we'll most likely be talking about it again. Right now, the issue is to compare abuse rates at the hands of Catholic priests to public school teachers. So each year, on average, 220 children are sexually abused by Catholic priests, while 29,000 are abused by public school teachers. 220, 29,000. We've attached a link to the official report prepared for the U.S. Department of Education. It's right over here. Of course, it stands to reason that the problem would be much greater in the nation's schools. There are over 6 million teachers and a total student population of almost 50 million students who those same teachers are around for many hours every single day. Just looking at it from the raw numbers, of course there's going to be much more abuse at the nation's public schools than in Catholic parishes. The question comes up then, where is all the media coverage about this tragedy? Come to think of it, there are boatloads of more Protestant ministers in the United States than there are Catholic priests. When the storm broke over the Catholic Church, many Protestant groups, to their credit, began looking at themselves. All of a sudden, hundreds and hundreds of abusive ministers started to be exposed. We've attached a couple of links for you to check out for this for yourself also. They're also over here. And while we're talking about protecting minors from adult rapists, where is any report in the mainstream media about the huge number of abortions performed on minor girls impregnated by adult males? Planned Parenthood and their allies in mass murder never even peep about this because they want to avoid the criminal charges and public relations disaster that would inevitably follow, not to mention the hit they would take in their cash register. Not a single story in the hallowed New York Times about the tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of minor girls having sex with adult men each year. So what do we have here once you look at the big picture? A relatively small, yet still enormously disturbing number of homosexual priests raping adolescent males, compared to a much larger number of Protestant ministers raping a much larger number of adolescent males and females. An industry which collects billions in profits from teenage victims of adult sexual abuse while failing to report any of it, and hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions, of child victims of sex abuse in the nation's public schools. Of all of these, who gets the wall-to-wall coverage? The Catholic Church. 220 victims a year, nothing to disregard, by the way, compared to tens of thousands of victims in these other groups. Come on, what gives? We know what gives. This is not an attack on sexual abuse of minors. This is an attack on Catholicism, hypocritically disguised as concern for children. Tomorrow, a look at why one key piece of data about sexual abuse by priests always seems to somehow conveniently be left out. I'm Michael Voris.
Please help us keep delivering these kinds of messages that so desperately need to be heard and acted on. Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber. Become immersed in the faith established by Jesus Christ. The Catholic Church is the only hope against evil because that is its God-given mission. As our Lord said, apart from me, you can do nothing. Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber and come to learn and love Christ more deeply.